My Uncle Tom fought in the Vietnam War, although if you met him, you wouldn't know that. He doesn't talk about it much. When he came back, he was a different person with serious mental health issues. My grandpa told me a story of him driving down the road, going 15 and a 50, looking around for bombshells about to drop, because he was having war flashbacks midday. And while he was here, not getting the correct care, there was more and more young men getting shipped off with no guarantee of help. And personally, I don't think that's a situation that any of us sit well with. Simply put it, too much is spent on our military, and that should be cut by 25%, so that the money taken from that can be spent on healthcare, especially for veterans. Now, I have seen firsthand where this money hasn't been going, and I've done further research that backs that up. Today, we're going to talk about three things. First, why we need it. We have a scary lack of healthcare and very high insurance premiums. Second, we're going to talk about how to fix these things, like the 25% cut. And third, we're going to think about what exactly the world will look like if this is put into place. Now, I think most people generally would disagree with this proposal. They want to feel safe. But I think that's because they don't understand the problem that needs fixed. The problem here is our scary lack of health care, not just with veterans, but with normal, everyday people. In an interview by PBS, Sherry Gride from Columbia University said that about 44 million people have no health insurance, and 38 million have inadequate health insurance. So total, that's about 1/3 of Americans not knowing day to day if they're going to be able to go to a doctor to get treated for something or help with mental health. And a lot of these kids who are shipping off are getting promised health care. They're getting promised all these things that would get them out of the situation they are, because many of them don't have the help. But we've seen that's not really the case. Because right now, according to the VA, the people supposed to be helping them, 40,000 veterans right now are homeless. And PTSD is running rampant. And it varies a little bit between wars, like the Iraq War, 11 to 20% struggle with mental illness, or especially PTSD. But if you look at the Vietnam War, it's nearly 30%. And it seems like, this is just a mental health, this isn't a big thing, but they're not able to keep marriages together. They can't deal with their kids the correct way. They can't hold jobs because of this, because they're disabled and then can't get the help. And the people who are supposed to be helping them, the VA, isn't really doing their jobs. 307,000 veterans died waiting for care, meaning they put it in and they never heard anything back. They had a thing with one guy who put in his file in 1988 and then died in 2005. Never hearing back because it never got processed. And the biggest part of this is the lack of spread. Right now, most veterans are populating more rural areas. That's where our veteran population comes from, places like Milton or Dublin in Indiana. But the only VAs you see are in Richmond, Muncie, and Indianapolis. So we're missing a lot of it. We have this huge demand, but our supply isn't hitting where it needs to be. Now, how do you go about this thing? Well, it all comes down to money, and that's where we get to the 25% decrease in our military spending. The biggest thing against this is the national debt, right? We don't want to spend more on healthcare because we don't have the money to spend it on healthcare. And right now, our national debt is projected by Forbes to be $29 trillion by 2019. And our military spending is one of the driving forces behind this. Right now, with the current budget, it's being proposed that another $30 billion will be the next increase in spending on it. The next thing that people think of with this solution is the strength of the military. If we cut our military spending at 25%, that's a lot. But when you think about it, it's not. We will still have the strongest military, and it won't be close. As I mentioned in my last speech, we are in first by 13 times. So China's in second, we spend 13 times what they do. So even cutting it by 25%, we're still ahead by hundreds of billions of dollars. And second is that this money is going to be going to veterans. So more people are going to want to join. If you are seeing your family members get taken care of by the Army or the Navy or the Marines, you're more likely to do it. And right now, that's much bigger an issue than in past generations when we had to draft. Washington Post did a survey where they were asking people 18 to 29 how they feel about the military. And 85% said that they had little to no interest in joining the military. Our interest is very low, and that is more of a hit to our protection and funding this. And these solutions sound nice, but I'm sure there's still a little bit of uncertainty. So allow me to paint a picture of our potential and hopeful future. Kids will be getting the help that they need. Right now, 38% of children are on CHIP, which is a need-based healthcare program. But it's been said by CHIP to be inadequate. And I think of people like my grandfather, people who went and fought for their country and thought that it was going to be, roses when they got back, but were met with little to no care. And I think of the strength of our military. I think of passion from the youth and a country united to keep our citizens safe. As you can see, this issue is much bigger than just how much we spend on fighting. To have a better world, we must accept change. For it was Charles Darwin who said, "It is not the strongest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." And I think that rings true here. There's an obvious problem with our current system. We can't be scared to fix it. Right now, we have a solution that's going to work. The responsibility now falls on us to fix it. We must realize the inherent mistake with making larger and larger tools of destruction while some go without care. To review, we've talked about 3 things today. We've talked about the need, our veterans. We've talked about the fix, 25% cut in spending. And we visualized what exactly our world would look like, united. Taking care of people at home makes sense. After all, isn't that what our military is meant to protect?